Hi everybody, it's me, Sherry D, and I would like to talk to you today about some of my personal experience and some experience stories that I've heard from other people that have been diagnosed with and have recovered from and are currently recovering from valley fever. Valley fever is a fungal illness. For those of you who know what it is, valley fever is a fungal illness. For those of you that don't know what it is, a fungal illness is much like yeast or candida. Those are funguses. Coccidioidomycosis is another type of fungus found in the soil. You breathe it in, the spores start to multiply and grow, and then we are dealing with a fungal illness. I do have a video on the channel about what is valley fever and some others, so you can look into those at your convenience if you would like. But today I would like to talk about antifungal medication and should you or should you not take it. And believe me, it all depends on the person. It depends on the time in their life. It depends on their immune system. There are so many variables that would play into making the decision to medicate or to not medicate. I personally was on fluconazole, diflucan, for 3.5 years, 600 milligrams per day, because I do have the fungus in my central nervous system. So when it's in the central nervous system, you are often given a high dose, sometimes up to 1,200 and 1,800 milligrams a day of this toxic chemotherapy, because it's a chemical chemotherapy. It's rough, and sometimes the side effects from the medication are so debilitating that it's sometimes worse and harder to deal with than the symptoms of the illness. And so I want y'all to know I get it. I've been there. I was pretty much bedridden for 3 years. I rested during the week. I rested hard and I rested good. And then I would play on the weekends. I would play for about 4 hours because I pretty much only had a 4 to a 6 hour energy window while I was on fluconazole. And I had so much hair loss that the doctor finally said, hey, we can change your medication. And I said, yeah, I'm aware of it. I'd studied, I'd read stories. I knew it was risky. Sometimes when people are changed from one antifungal to another, the body does not respond in a pleasurable way. So they sometimes will stop the new medication and try to go back to the fluconazole, and then the body still doesn't react because it's so confused and so toxic at that point. It has a hard time recovering. But I knew at that time in my life I was strong enough because I'd been resting, I'd been eating right, I'd been staying away from sugars and pastas and breads and eating all the good cruciferous vegetables and the berries and the coconut oil and just really eating a good plant-based diet and practicing intermittent fasting also to quiet my fungal illness. So anyway, we changed my medication after 3.5 years from fluconazole to itraconazole, which is Sporanox. The brand name is Sporanox, generic is itraconazole. And the new side effect on that drug was possible heart attack, stroke, and edema. Leg swelling, they called it leg swelling. Well, I didn't get leg swelling, I got all over swelling, which in my thought process figured that, that's often possibly why you might be apt to a heart attack or a stroke, because if you're suffering from so much inflammation that it's putting all this pressure on your arteries and your veins, and edema is dangerous. So, but I also found that while on the itraconazole, it made my heart race really bad. And so after 3 years on the itraconazole, my blood pressure was so high that the doctor put me on blood pressure meds. So now I had to take the antifungal meds and the blood pressure meds. I'm just not a girl who wants to take pharmaceutical medication because I'm the kind of girl, I'm a very natural girl. I live out in the country and I like to believe that if I eat the right things and do the right things with my body, it's designed to heal. If my body can heal broken bones, it should certainly be able to heal and take care of this fungus. So that's where my mind plays. I always keep in the mindset, which is very important when dealing with an illness, is to have a good, healthy mindset believing that you can heal, believing that you can recover, focusing on the good, focusing on happiness. Because if you focus on your illness, you're going to be ill. If you focus on your wellness, you have a high chance of becoming well, at least better than focusing on ill, right? And I'm so cockeyed on here. It makes me crazy, and I'm sorry, but that's just what it is. Anyway, back on track. So our energy goes where our intention flows. So if we're always focused, I'm sick, I'm sick, I'm sick, I'm sick, which my husband, as a matter of fact, I'll share a quick story. My husband used to tell people, my sick wife, my sick wife, my wife is sick, my wife is sick. And finally, I saw how that burdened him. I got the feeling that it burdened him, that he had a sick wife. And I don't want to claim myself as a sick person. I'm a person with an illness. And so I had a talk with him gently and lovingly, and I asked him, I said, honey, instead of saying my sick wife, I'm sick, can we just simply say I suffer with an illness that needs to be controlled with medication? Much like a diabetic, they need to control their illness, their diagnosis with medication. So I thought. Now doing further studies, I know if you're diabetes too, you can possibly cure yourself with certain measures that you can take towards wellness. And that's a whole nother topic. If you are a diabetic and you would like to get off of medication, send me a message, put it in the comments, and we can have a discussion about how to level out your blood sugars. So, I asked him, can we just say that my wife suffers from an illness, not my sick wife? And that's what we started doing. And I noticed a shift in our energy, in our marriage, in our life, and our outlook on life, and how we decided, how we would progress through my healing process. That, if we take steps every day to make me better, I'm better today than I was yesterday. And that is much with rest, food, and Epsom salt baths and dry brushing. Any of those of you who know me know that I do dry brushing. Sorry about that. Shifting, fixing reality, right? So to medicate or not to medicate. So when my high blood pressure began and I was diagnosed with high blood pressure and given medication for that, at that time I was just starting on my celery juice journey. This is just water and I need a drink, excuse me. Good filtered water out of glass is the best, because plastic bottles have BPA in them. Those are known to be a hormone disruptor. So the more level and real you can keep your body, the healthier you're going to be. We use 3 and 5 gallon water bottles and fill them up at the grocery store from the filtered water. So it used to be 20 cents when we first started 8 years ago. Now it's 40 cents a gallon. But it still tastes better to me than drinking water out of a plastic bottle. So I was drinking celery juice about 2 or 3 stalks a day. And because I'd been researching all the benefits from it. And then a friend of mine gifted me a juicer. And I do have videos on this YouTube channel on how to do just blending juice in a mixer and, straining it through cheesecloth. So there's all different sorts of ways you can make celery juice. You don't have to have a juicer. So I had been researching that celery juice is an antifungal, antibacterial, antiviral. So if it's going to get rid of bacteria, viral, and fungus in my body, I'm going to be healthy, right? So this is how it played out to me when I was told and educated on celery juice. What I was told is if you look at the celery leaf, it looks much like an oregano leaf and a flat parsley leaf. Not the curly parsley, but the other flat parsley that looks kind of like cilantro. So you've got oregano, cilantro, and parsley, all those little leaves. If you look at the celery leaf, it's much the same shape. So celery, as you know, celery seed is an herb. So celery is really a healing herb than just like a vegetable. So I know from personal experience, using celery juice as my antifungal medication is working for me. I have been off of antifungal medication for almost a year and a half now. And I was diagnosed and prescribed to be on it for life. So I'm here to say that celery juice can work for you as long as you are not feeding the fungus with stress, overdoing it in your life, not resting properly, not getting the right minerals, which is where my Epsom salt baths come in, magnesium. If you don't have a bathtub, you can get a transdermal magnesium gel. Magnesium, potassium, selenium, copper, those minerals are so important for our body to function properly, to be able to detox garbage that we put in our body or the environment. Stuff we put on our skin, you want to be really careful. Don't put toxins on your skin. Use coconut oil, almond oil, avocado oil. Most lotions that you buy off of any shelf, if it's not from a health food or natural store, is going to be packed full of toxins, and your skin is your biggest organ. So it's a whole big regimen to make the decision: detox your life naturally or take a toxic medication that's going to quiet your fungus. And for me, the personal experience was that antifungal medication suppressed the fungus that was in my body. It like went and built this protective coating around it. So it was still there. I just heard a bump and nobody's home. Maybe there's animals under the house. I don't know. It created a protective barrier around the fungus in my body, because once I started drinking the celery juice and I stopped taking the antifungal medication, I noticed more die-off coming out of my body. I used to get redness in my chest. I'd get redness on my forehead when I would get hot. And that was the fungus kind of waking up. But as I've been drinking celery juice for the last year and a half, I don't get those red rashy things anymore when I get hot. There's a little bit if I overdo it, or if I eat sugar, or I drink alcohol, because that's sugar, and especially beer, that's yeast, fungus, then I can start to experience a little bit of rashiness on my forehead or on my chest again. But I just clean up my diet, clean up my thoughts, clean up my rest, take my baths, clean up my body, take my Epsom salt baths, and then my flare-ups seem to fade away. So that's my personal experience. I do have friends that have had positive valley fever tests, blood tests, and a blood test, they said it came out positive, and then they sent it off to have their titers checked, and it's showing up nothing. So I have found what often happens with friends that have been diagnosed with valley fever, when they get their test, they've also come up with Lyme's and lupus markers. And so whatever's happened in their life, be it valley fever, or be it some other illness, or even a pregnancy, because a pregnancy for women takes so much out of your body, and your flora gets all mixed up, you can easily get a yeast overgrowth, a candida overgrowth after having a baby. Babies even get candida. Cradle cap, that's yeast, candida. So by cleaning up, not putting them on dairy products and soy products will sometimes help get rid of their cradle cap too. So friends that have suffered illnesses sometimes have valley fever markers go up, Lyme disease markers go up, lupus markers go up, but they send off for a titer and there's no titer. And so they've asked me, what should I do, Sherry? Should I take the medication or should I not take the medication? And this is what I tell people when they are teetering back and forth, to medicate or not to medicate. First and foremost, number one, how do you feel? How do you feel? If you feel energetic and vivacious and you have a clear lung x-ray, if you don't have fluid in your lungs, you have energy, and you don't have rashes or inflammation or headaches, my personal opinion at that moment, I would say, don't take the medication. Start yourself on a celery juice regimen, starting slowly and building up, because if you go and do 10 to 12 ounces a day right away, the die-off could be so uncomfortable that you think, oh my gosh, I can't do celery juice. It does all this bad things to me. where if you go slower, the detox, the body responds better. And you want to do celery juice on an empty stomach and wait 20 to 30 minutes before eating if you're using it as a medicinal purpose. If you're just drinking celery juice because it's good for you, then fine, you can eat other food. But if you put other food in with the celery juice, you're not going to get the clean medicinal purposes that you would if you wait to eat and let your body process that pure celery juice first. So, to medicate or to not medicate is a very personal choice. If you have no titers, period, and you feel okay, I would say just stick to a good wellness plan program. You know, even if you have to hire a coach or ask other people, you know, get their input and how have they quieted their fungus, because I have a lot of people that were diagnosed valley fever, and so they only had it in their lungs. They were only feeling kind of tired and kind of fevery. They took the medication for a week and they felt worse. So this particular friend that I'm thinking of specifically, she knew me, she knew my story, she called me, we were on the phone for an hour, and I told her everything I do, everything I don't do, everything I eat, everything I don't eat. And she said, you know what, Sherry, I'm going to give it a try. And she's a homeschooling mother of 3 children and a yoga instructor, and lived out on a farm and had to take care of all the animals. And she said, you know what, I'm going to try this natural approach first, because that medication made me feel so horrible. I can't even take care of my children. I can't even go to the grocery store. So within 3 weeks of her doing juicing and eating right and resting, she felt back to normal. She felt like her energetic self. She could feed the animals, she could go to the grocery store, and when she went back for her checkup, the doctor's like, yeah, you're doing great. So it's very much a personal experience. It's a personal choice, and it really has a lot to do with our environment. I can't say enough. And for me personally, I know now that I'm back to work because I have a very physical job. I was off work. I worked a couple hours a week while I was on medication fighting the illness. But as I've gotten stronger doing Epsom salt baths, I was able to work 6 hours a week and then 8 hours a week. And now I'm working a few days a week being off of antifungal medication and on celery juice. I did celery juice every day for 8 months straight. And then I felt pretty strong, and it was very expensive at that time because there was a big craze about it. Everybody was talking about the benefits of it. So everybody was getting on celery juice, and now it has slowed down. And instead of, when I first started, it was $1 a bushel. And then when the craze in the winter hit, it was $4 a bushel. So I was having to pay $4 a day because I do a full bushel a day. I took a break, and I went to 3 to 4 times a week. And I was doing okay, but I was still kind of teetering. If I would have, something with bread or a sugary dessert, then I might kind of teeter on flaring up in my joints or, my chest. So I do try and stick to at least every other day. But if I'm having flare-ups, I stick to every day. And the physical work that I'm enduring now, I can sometimes work 12-hour days. 10 to 12-hour days, and this is physical work, very physical work. I can handle that. But if I am under emotional stress, especially if it's painful emotional stress, like if people are unhappy with me or angry with me or upset with me, or if I'm stressing out over something that I should be doing and I'm procrastinating and not doing it. The procrastinating really is nothing compared to emotional stress. Because I'll tell you what, when people hurt my feelings, it hurts and it shows up on my body. So if you have a loved one that has valley fever, I can just say, be kind and gentle to them. It's the best thing you can do, is be kind and gentle and understanding, because the rest of it is painful. And pain causes flare-ups. So I do also have a friend named Sadie, Silently Sadie. You can look her up on Facebook. She has had fungal meningitis when she was about 8. And she ended up getting brain damage because she went undiagnosed and mistreated, just was not diagnosed properly fast enough. So she had to suffer some brain damage. And because being fungal meningitis, she was prescribed antifungal medication for life. And the parents had to decide, what do we want for Sadie? Do we want quality of life or do we want quantity? And they decided, we want quality. We don't want her to be on this toxic medication that they knew what it did to the body. So they chose to take her off, and it was very difficult for them to choose that because a lot of their family did not agree with them. And I think it may have even caused some division within their family. But this is their daughter. They're the ones who care for her daily. So it's their choice. And she has been off antifungal medication for maybe 10 years, 8 years. She's 21 now. And they feed her juices, and they feed her well. They get her physical therapy. They do lymphatic stimulation, which there are tutorials that I have made on the channel. Be sure and check those out. I can't say enough for lymphatic stimulation. It is our dumping station. If you're stimulating your lymphatic system, you're going to be healthier. Think about shingles. When people get shingles, they only get the rash on one side because our lymphatic systems, they actually run left and right. So by stimulating it, it's helping dump the toxins. So it aids the kidneys, it aids the liver, it does amazing things for the immune system. But Sadie, too, like me, is controlling her fungal illness naturally without medication. And so I want you to know there are success stories out there. There are people that have tried going off the medication and just can't do it. And, and that's largely, it's all about your immune system, and it's about your environment and what you put into your body. So some people might not have the ability to live a stress-free life. That one's a really hard one. It's really hard. And so I just encourage anybody to just reach really deep into spiritual guidance, spiritual growth, because if we can realize that we're spiritual beings here on earth having a human experience, we know there's a higher power that we can reach for, strength, and sending out positive energy vibes into the world will bring you back positive energy vibes. So focus on the positive, focus on wellness. And if you have any questions, you're welcome to put them in the comment box. I encourage you, if you know anybody who's struggling with to medicate or to not medicate, please share this video with them, because there are alternatives. It's not black and white. I just want you to know that there are other colors in the world. There's pinks and there's blues and there's purples. And I just want to be able to offer a little bit of light to the world. That yes, fungal illnesses can be controlled naturally under the right circumstances. So with that, I'll close off for the day, and I encourage you to find the right circumstances. May you focus on wellness, positivity, and love, and healing and wellness. I thank my Creator, my heavenly source, my higher power. I thank daily for healing. I thank daily for abundance. I give gratitude daily. And the more that I give gratitude for what I want, the more that it comes. So may you have an abundance of happiness, an abundance of wellness, and share that with the world. Share your abundance, share your happiness, because the more you share, the more you get back. So thank you very much for hanging out with me. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye. I don't know how to stop these. I'm gonna learn.